first thing I want to say is that I just can't believe that this is 50 years later. Incredible, just incredible.
The mood was one of anger, especially within the black community, especially when they lost Dr. King. When the convention came to town, and it just broke everything wide open.
I don't think anybody knew or even imagined what was going to come. I could see going to work, people arriving, odd people, not Chicagoans, buses, cars, walking, people were arriving.
Well, '68 was a tumultuous year, and there's never been another year like it. In March of '68, I was hired at the Sun-Times. The very next month, April of '68, Dr. King was assassinated. The cities were exploding everywhere in the country. And then later on that same year, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. And then of course we had the 1968 Democratic Convention, which just tore things wide open. At the time, we don't really think about this when you're involved, but you're actually recording history. But you don't think about that at the time. That comes much, much later when you really have a chance to think about it in retrospect.
The delegates, and that they were all there in their amphitheater, well taken care of, protected, doing their shtick, and they had no idea what was going on.
Well, inside was every known politician in Chicago was there with Mayor Daley. And it was crowded like crazy. The place was crowded, and they were smoking and cigars. It was hard to shoot, and people were standing in your way all the time.
And the first place I went to was Lincoln Park. And that was hot. Hot, mellow, it was all peace and love, peace and love. It was very relaxed until the night started falling. And then the mood turned.
And of course, there was this rule the park district had that you had to be out of the park by 10 o'clock, 10 or 11 o'clock, I forgot which. And so the cops called themselves trying to enforce that rule. And it made it very difficult on the demonstrators, and as a result, they got mad and they began to resist, and when they started resisting, then the cops got even more, how can I put it, aggressive in their actions. We as photographers, we're trying to capture this because this is not to make anybody look bad, but it's the story. And we need to tell the story.
But there was so much stuff happening around me that it was difficult to concentrate on any one, particular incident, because people were throwing rocks and bottles at the police, and the police were moving in a long line forward west from east in Lincoln Park towards Clark Street. They also began to use tear gas when people would not leave.
Inevitably, clashes occurred. Then they got more agitated, the demonstrators did, and they were going to stand their ground. And then it just got real messy after that.
So every time you photographed a policeman, he was doing something wrong. And the coppers were beating everybody up, pushing everybody. Their tags were upside down, so you couldn't read their name.
But with the confusion and the crowd and the night and the heat, it was like I said, chaotic.
You saw the National Guard had been called in, and they were covering the hotel so that the delegates could come in and out safely. It was almost like a military takeover, just about.
I mean, there was so much stuff. They were chanting, "The whole world is watching. The whole world is watching." The police, I would say, just went out of control. They were going after people indiscriminately. It didn't matter. I mean, there were so many people, you couldn't really tell what from what, who, where. There should have been people who didn't belong there were there, and the demonstrators who were yelling at the police, wearing helmets, trying to defend themselves, and the police were just, there were patrol cars, there were police trucks, and they were just throwing these people literally into the trucks.
I did get myself whacked across the back with a billy club, and it was not a pleasant experience.
The chaos, everybody was at the police mercy. I mean, they were there, they were ready, and they wanted to put an end and an order to this event.
It was a time that you couldn't believe was happening, and it took that experience, both where the police was concerned and where the general public was concerned, for that to change how the police worked. And it took a whole generation, because everybody at the top had to change over. New people coming in had to have a different mindset. And once that happened, then things did get better.
Today, the police are more accountable. Literally, the whole world is watching.
I tell you one thing, it seasoned me really well. After that, I could cover anything that was thrown at me, no matter what it was. I didn't fear it. I wasn't afraid of it. You know, whatever came, I found ways to get it done. And so, in a way, it made me know that this is how things are in the real world.